I'm in Oman right now during the US strikes on Iran. People call it the Switzerland of Middle East. But the parallel may not actually do justice to this fascinating, incredible, superb country. I decided to do this video mainly for illustrating to you why Oman is not the new Dubai but still should be really on your radar. Let's be very clear, there is the same 0% tax as in Dubai, the same golden visa program, the same geographical positioning, same sun, same desert, but at the same time, if you compare it with the UAE, there are two entirely different philosophies behind these two countries. Today I'm going to tell you what is Oman, who is it for and who is it not for actually, and why, if you understand in depth Oman, eventually the case for UAE for some people it's even stronger. Let's dive into it. Let me give you first some context. As you may have heard, Iran actually threatened all the countries in the GCC area, with one exception at least initially, and that exception was Oman. This single thing will tell you a lot about this region. People here are very friendly, the nature is literally jaw-dropping, and overall this is a country that likes to fly under the radar. Until 1970, imagine that here there were 3 schools, barely any hotel, and probably 10 kilometers of paved road. What happened is that at that time the Sultan kept his own son under house arrest because of his too modern ideas. That son, actually backed by British, organized a coup and it turned a medieval kingdom into the 5th safest country in the world. All of this in about 50 years. What has been my first impression here? When you land in the airport, you perceive an entirely different vibe from the UAE, Dubai, or even Abu Dhabi. People are incredibly warm, probably the friendliest in the region. The nature is incredible, the architecture very, very nice. There is one recurring theme that I define as the Dubai without the Dubaification. Oman has a very long history spanning across 5,000 years. Probably this topic would deserve an autonomous video. But for the purpose of what I'm going to tell you today, let me just recap a few key points. First and foremost, Oman follows Ibadism, often called the third Islam. It's not Sunni, it's not Shia. This is exactly why Oman has been the broker between US and Iran until now. Now, this is a sort of theological neutrality that I think it plays and will keep playing a certain role. Second, Oman took a different approach, more slow, more natural, I would say, to modernization. So it preserved their own cultural identity, at the same time building a more modern, world-class infrastructure. They're executing well until Vision 2040 is happening with, I would say, momentum. And in the first 5 years of launch, this program has obtained, I would say, 74% of interim targets already achieved. There is a key question right now that probably everyone is asking. Is this a credible, a valuable, a possible even alternative to the UAE or to Dubai specifically? The real answer is no. This is not going to be a pure alternative to the UAE, because if you're looking for pure tax optimization, world-class infrastructure, concentrated and powerful ecosystem of people willing to grow, I would say that Dubai is and will remain the #1 place in the world. There is no other way of framing this. But the thing is that Oman can be a phenomenal place for many other people and eventually even a better alternative for some specific categories. Let me dive into all these details. But before we go there, since you're on this channel, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Alessandro. I spent 4 years in Dubai. I built and scaled ventures across Europe, Middle East, and Asia. Through my company, Citizenship, I helped many navigating these global mobility related scenarios. This channel is for people optimizing for freedom and sovereignty in the modern age. If you resonate with these words and if you're looking how to strategically locate in one position, where to invest, where to position yourself in your business in the future, if this resonates with you, you are welcome to join. Hit the subscribe button on this YouTube channel. This is an impromptu video. I hope you enjoy it. So let me be direct about the numbers for Oman. The current tax structures through December 31st, 2027 implies 0% personal income tax, 0% capital gains tax, and 15% on corporate tax for most businesses. There is a 3% tax on certain small and medium enterprises. Of course, the VAT is 5%. There is an important change coming up on January 1st, 2028. Oman is going to introduce 5% of gross income that exceeds a certain threshold. This threshold is about the equivalent of 110,000 US dollars. This is the first GCC country to introduce personal income tax ever in the history. Let's be clear, 5% is not really a high amount. There is only 1% of the population expected to be affected by this measure. An important point that most people actually miss is also that that if you are tax resident in Oman, this 5% will apply on worldwide income. This means that 5% will apply on everything, not only on the income generated in Oman. The good news is that if you earn below this threshold, 109, 110,000 US dollars per year, even after 2028, Oman will be 0% tax for you. This is important because for a quite relevant portion of digital nomads, including and especially freelancers, but also pensioners eventually, Oman is effectively a 0% tax jurisdiction. If you compare this with Dubai, I think it's fair to say that Dubai still wins because 0% net with the certainty of not being introduced a personal income anytime soon, it's the best option out there for those optimizing for pure tax optimization. There is also another point that I think it could make Oman quite interesting for many. Let's talk about the Golden Visa. Oman relaunched their program in August 2025. This means very recently with a new requirement in terms of minimum investment equal to 200,000 Riyal. This is approximately the equivalent of 520,000 US dollars for a 10 years renewable visa. This is interesting because it's the same price point more or less of the Dubai comparable pathways. Same cost for Golden Visa. Of course, in one case, potentially you have a 0% net on any form of tax at the personal level, but in Oman there would be potentially above a certain threshold a 5% taxation. Let me break down what Oman actually offers and for who. First and foremost, stability and safety. Oman ranks as the 5th safest country in the world according to Numbeos 2025 Safety Index. Even now, in March 2026, this neutrality has been battle tested, and I would say at least at the beginning of these military tensions and escalations, Oman was kept outside the attacks from Iran. Second, real estate. Prices are a fraction of Dubai's. If you're looking for an investment play and eventually a Golden Visa as a pure plan B, I would say that this investment opportunity should be on your radar. Third, pensioners. With minimal stay requirements, you can get a visa and spend most of the year here. Of course, it would be important to alternate winters in Europe, and you could eventually get a phenomenal lifestyle play. Here it's warm, it's safe, and compared to the UAE, for sure, quite affordable. Fourth, and this one is quite underrated, digital nomads. Oman launched a dedicated program for remote workers. It's 1 year, renewable, and you need to show roughly the equivalent of 3,900 US dollars as monthly income, and for coming from work, performed outside Oman. There is no investment required, and remember, until the threshold of about 110k per year, even after 2028, here taxation would be 0. I don't know how this will play out in the next few months or years, given the whole context in the region, but in general terms, I think this could be an opportunity to consider for many. Fifth, there are free zones here. There are actually 4 major free zones: Duk, Sohar, Salalah, and Al Mazunah. The incentives for these free zones are quite interesting, and 100% foreign ownership right now is available. This is a recent improvement. The corporate tax exemptions are work for up to 30 years under the new royal decree from April 2025. Overall, if you want to look at data in 2025, there have been more than 22.4 billion in Omani Riyals of investments in these free zones. There is a selected list of areas in which companies must operate in these free zones in order to benefit of the exemptions. And this list includes energy, logistics, manufacturing, or green tech. Sixth, a path to citizenship actually exists differently from the UAE. With the new decree number 17, 2025, so it's very recent, actually the naturalization requirement in terms of years effectively spent in the country went from 20 to 15 years of continuous residency. You need to speak fluent Arabic and of course not having criminal conviction, and ultimately the decision will be discretional and adopted by royal decree. This is not a guaranteed path, and of course it's not an easy one, but still it is technically possible and still contrary to the UAE. Point number 7, this is something I've never read anywhere. Oman is a Bitcoin aligned country, and actually there are state-backed Bitcoin mining facilities here that have collected recently considerable investments based on one single angle, which is the low cost of electricity. All that said, once I illustrated to you all these points, I would like to make one overall assessment from my end. I think that if you are really looking for a pure Dubai alternative, this is not and this can be your place. These are 2 different playbooks and 2 different approaches to modernization. But if you're looking for an authentic, calmer place 4 hours by car from Dubai or 1 hour by flight, with a lower cost of life, lower real estate, the same golden visa, almost zero taxation depending on your own case, well, I think this place could be on your spot. And if you add to it also the diplomatic and political neutrality, I think this could be a key opportunity. I would say that I personally think the golden visa in Oman, especially because now it's the same cost of the UAE, will be a growing one, an emerging one. I don't have the stats, but I'm pretty sure in 2-3 years from this video, let's check out if this prediction will be correct. There will be charts showing how after 2026 the spike for golden visa applications will be quite intense. And why? Because as a pure plan B option, this is phenomenal. And to be very frank, I don't think 5% in general terms is an obstacle for many. Let me tell you, this is not at all a bad option. And for visiting, Oman is generally world class. I highly recommend to anyone out there. We had an incredible time here. Let me give you a short list of incredible places. Wadi Shab, you take a boat across the river, you hike through a canyon, and then you can swim through, I would say, turquoise pools to reach a hidden cave with a waterfall. Jebel Shams, this is the Grand Canyon of Arabia. It's 3,000 meters high and, of course, breathtaking. Nizwa, the ancient capital, it's a 17th century fort and one of the oldest souks in the region. And the Musandam Peninsula, the Norway of Arabia, fjords cutting through the coast, best explored by traditional dhow boat. Just stunning. For anyone out there who is interested in visiting the UAE, this can be phenomenal, a complementary destination that will make many of you, especially those ones who with kids and with family, very happy and will balance eventually the more modern infrastructure of Dubai especially. Now, I wouldn't do my job as always if I didn't present you the honest cons that you should consider when it comes to Oman. First and foremost, summer is brutal. We noticed it already in the last few days here. Eventually the humidity level, the temperature changes dramatically from literally one day to another. And summer here, it's of course brutal. It's like Dubai. It's going to be up to potentially 40 degrees Celsius with humidity. The economy is still heavily oil dependent. The estimate is 70 to 85% of government revenue coming from oil. Even if with Vision 2040 there is a progress, I would say there is not yet a diversified economy here. Also, social life is conservative, especially if you compare this with the UAE and Dubai specifically. You will find a drastic difference. Most socializing happens at home or in hotels, restaurants and bars. And this is something you may want to consider, because if you want a true international energy, if you want to attend multiple networking events, if you want to have proximity to business ecosystems, vibrant ones, Oman will not be the right fit for you. And the last point I already addressed, that there is a 5% tax coming in 2028. In Dubai, it is still zero. So if you look at that and this is your priority, well, there is not really competition here. So who is this for? For pure tax optimization, as I told you a couple of times, UAE is a different story. But there are specific profiles that I think will find Oman extremely interesting. Remote workers under 6 figures. Why this is so interesting? It's a fraction of cost of Dubai, but it's close enough to travel there frequently. You still get 0% tax. You live, after all, in the 5th safest country in the world at a fraction of cost compared to Dubai and relatively close to it. It doesn't sound to me a bad deal. Are you retired, pensioner, you're trying to look for a stable, calm country where to spend most of the year but not all the year, unless you really like and you're used to very warm temperatures? Oman can be a phenomenal fit. Are you playing the long game? Well, in that case, the naturalization path, even without marrying purely by residency, is technically possible, although complex. Still, it's something that even as an opportunity down the line. And also UAE residents. Yes, you heard correctly. Every UAE resident should really consider to spend some time here with family. Yes, you're not going to find a vibrant social scene, but I would argue that if you have chosen to live in Dubai, I think you can already experience that for 80-90% of the time. So sometimes you may want to experience something different. Entrepreneurs in manufacturing, energy or green tech, I think this is one of the most underrated opportunities. You should really double check right now the specific requirements for the Oman free zones, because you may be able to obtain an efficient company setup at 0% taxes. There is also a niche here, as I told you, for potentially crypto holders and Bitcoiners, especially if it will be confirmed that also after 2028, taxation on capital gains from crypto will be zero. And lastly, as I told you, I personally wouldn't be that surprised to see a spike in golden visa applications in the coming months. So, some final considerations. I think Oman will be a phenomenal opportunity, even just for some short stays For visiting, for vacation, for holiday, for many of you, I think you should really consider it. It's a phenomenal place that you should really check it out. And as I told you, for certain people, Oman could be a superior opportunity to multiple other alternatives. To recap, you can't compare the UAE and Oman. There are two different stories, there are two different approaches to modernization, two different societal choices. The majority of population in Oman is Omani. This means 55% plus are Omani citizens versus 10% in the UAE. The vast majority is expats. You can feel a different depth and a different, more local, I would say, authentic culture. This is absolutely priceless. And for some of you, eventually remote workers under threshold, pensioners, or those ones seeking for a pure plan B via the golden visa, I really feel Oman is going to become an hot destination and opportunity in the coming months and years. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If that's the case, subscribe to this channel and also to my newsletter. As I told you, I'm committed to build the best jurisdictional intelligence out there on these topics and many more. Let me know what do you think about Oman in the comments. I will reply to each one of you. Thank you so much and ciao for now.